Hi, I'm Burkhard from Heisenware, and I want you to guide you through the database interface that we have. And I thought a short video, or actually a bit longer video, would help to understand all the complexities around databases. So for that to understand, let's start with an app, and let's try to build a database which exactly has three tables. And the three tables that we want to have is a student table, course table, and mentors. And the idea is that each student has exactly one mentor or no mentor, but each student can be subscribed to one or more courses. And and then we want to build up all the relations and so on and display this a bit and so on. So let's start. If you want to get started on tables, we have to go to the data connectors, relational databases, and then if you want to use the internal database, which is a Postgres database, you can just go here. And what we need to do is first of all set all the tables up, and we can do this with create table function. I will drag immediately 3 times because I'm going to create the 3 tables I talked about before. And fine, we have create table, create table, create table, and let's go. Let's say the students table. Let's say we have a mentors table. I'm sorry, and let's say we have a courses table. So to keep it very, very simple and to focus on the important things, I'm giving those guys all the same keys, namely a name. I could give, of course, more keys. And the way it works, you have to give the field name here as the key, and then the type you enter as a value. And I'm using here the unique string because I want to have the students in unique name. So this enforces that the names are unique within the table, so that there's not a duplicated row with the same name. And I do the same for the other tables, and I'm just lazy copying quickly over the fields. And that's actually it, I believe. We can create the 3 tables, and if you check here you see what happened, and actually they look all the same. Maybe the created add is a bit different, but yeah, that's how it is. And now actually we have the 3 tables. We want to establish their associations, and for that we need the optionally has one. And I try to explain what we have. So let's do the first association, which is the easier one, which is a one-to-many relation or many-to-one, as you see it. It's always important to see the perspective. And the students and the mentors, I want to have this relation. And if we hover this text here, then we can read what's going on. Loosely associates 2 tables. Hint, you selected the correct association if the statement is true. A single child has 0 or 1 more parent. A single parent may have many children. So that's what we need here. So if I put the student as a child and the mentor as a parent, then I have what I need here. A single student has exactly 1 or 0 mentor, and 1 mentor may have many students. So that's what we need here. So let me put this in, students and mentors. Here I could give optionally a different source key, but we don't need this. We can take the default and happily delete this entry. So if you do that, it says true, everything is fine. And now we need another association, which is the optionally has many. And here I want to say students may have many courses. And so it's here, a single student can have many courses, a single course can have many students. That's what I need. There we go. Okay. That's for the tables, and actually what happens here, actually under the hood, it will create another table, which is the engineering table, which combines students and courses in this specific case here. But you shouldn't care about that. Things will be handled automatically for you. So now we need to put some data into the system. Now we have just empty tables sitting around, and if you want to put some data, actually I will use the form input and say, okay, let's start with a form that has a name tag, and the label will be automatically the right one. Text box, fine. And actually I will need this 3 times, so I just go over and copy this and copy this again, and then I will need a button to add finally the name which I typed. It's called a button add. Also this I want to copy. I think this one is not sitting right. Yeah. So this looks quite nice already. So just to be clear what we are adding, I'm just putting quick headings, text box. I say students. I'm just formatting this a bit. Fine. Also copying. And copying. And then we say courses and mentors. So once done with the visualization, we can go on and try to get the data from the form inputs actually into our databases. And for doing so, I will create another section and maybe call it data input. This is just to have a bit more clearer coding on the low code side, and correspondingly I could name this one to tables, as we are here only defining the tables and the associations between them. Okay, so what I need is to get whatever the user entered here into the name field of the students, courses and mentors into the respective databases. And in order to do so, I will want to use the relational databases upsert row function. That's the one to use here, and actually as we need it 3 times, I will just quickly drag it 3 times for the 3 different tables, students, courses. Oh, I typed here somewhere. It doesn't matter. Courses and mentors. And what is upsert row doing actually? It's it's a dual action. It inserts if the entry wasn't there, and it updates the entry if it is already there. And it can do it only if it's clear on which entry to do so. And this typically you say with a unique string. So if we had more information to the student rather than its name, say the birth date or whatever, and you would ask the name and the birth date here, then if you would take the a student with the same name and have a different birthday, would update his birthday, which makes not a lot of sense if he once did it right, but okay. But that's how it works. And yeah, it's very nice here because we will also immediately avoid that there are several students in the database with the same name. And I want to have it here simple, so we can have only one name at a time. And this is what the unique string enforces us. And here you could give another unique key to as a constraint to keep unique. We don't need it here. I will delete it immediately. And in order to get the data in, it's actually very simple. We click the form widget here and then drag the input element over it. and the same for the button to actually trigger the function. So this, if the user types it, will only fill in the input, but the real triggering of the function and the upserting into the database will happen only on button click. And I have to do this 3 times. Fine, and now we are already prepared for trying out and entering some data into our database. And we can do that in the test mode. I could add a student, Lara. I could give her a course, not give her, but enter a course physics, and add a mentor, Dr. Heisenberg. And you see it happened already, name Lara, physics, Heisenberg, and actually the button click was pressed. And you see the corresponding entry in the database happened with ID 1, name Lara, created at la la la. And what you see also here is the mentor ID. This mentor ID sneaked in at the moment we said optionally has 1. This is how the database interprets this one-to-many relationship and adds the foreign key of the mentors database into the students table. And with that we could express that Lara has 1 mentor or no mentor, and this is the optionally. You see the mentor ID is null, so it's not associated, which means Lara can exist without a mentor, but we could give her later a mentor with a specific ID. And the mentors to choose from are in this table here. In the moment we have just Dr. Heisenberg and physics, and this is a bit too easy, I would say, with just 1 entry. So let's add for each table another entry. So we give another student, we create another course. These poor guys are natural scientists and have to study physics and chemistry. And then we have maybe Professor Einstein as a very good mentor. And now we could actually check that we have several entries. I do this often just for debugging purposes. I get me the function getTable. Where is it? Here you are. To see what's going on, and we can actually look at the students, if I could type it, and see that we really have 2 students. It's the case. We have Lara and John entered. And that will be true for mentors and courses as well. Yeah, perfectly fine. So that concludes that we can add and have added already information into our database. And what we want to do next is establishing associations between students, courses, and mentors. And for that I will again create another section and call this association. So, and the idea that I have for that, I want to trigger you with maybe UI first, and I would just create another page to have a clean field to do this association. And on this page I would create another form, and in this form I want to have actually 3 fields, and the first field I want to call student. Namely, I'll select student, then I want to select the courses that the student had, and optionally, and you can always fold this in if it's getting too long, and optionally the mentor that the student has. So you see already student, courses, mentors, but now there's more. We of course now know our students as we have entered them before, so we want to actually have them selectable and not free text. So I want to have a select box, enable searching on it, show the clear button, and the drop down button. That's nice. On the courses, actually, as we said, there are maybe not only 1 course but many courses. I don't need a select box. With select box I could only choose exactly one course to associate, but I want to choose here one or more courses. And for doing that, actually the tag box is the right thing. And yes, so we have a tag box here, and the mentor again, we need the select box because there should be only one, which is maybe searchable and clearable. Okay, I think that looks quite good in a moment. And you see what's already happening here. Some widget properties pop up, and what we need then finally is a button which I want to call associate. Okay, so what we need is to populate this form field with the options that it needs for students, courses, and mentors. And to do so, we have to get first of all this data into our hands. And to do so, actually, I will use the get table function. And again, I will need it for all the 3 tables that we have. So pattern as usual, I drag it 3 times. And I want to have the students, and I want to see the courses and the mentors. And yes, now we can trigger this, of course, here and get the students, Lara, and so on. We have a lot of information here from the database, and what we actually need for this widget to understand what's going on would be more or less just the name for the students. So we should be able to say here in the fields, let's see how it works. Fields, an array, optional. So let's see whether this works if you just say we want to see just the name. No, it didn't. Literal replacement. Right, because I just wrote name without a string. It should be the string name. Doesn't work. Okay. So this is something which is, I would say, it's a bug, but it's a tricky issue. So if it's fully unclear what's going on here, and I tell you what's happening. We left this one open and entered so these are 2 optional arguments. I show you this if I copy this out, and we just used this one. This doesn't work currently in the app builder. You have to give this guy also some options to work. And it's an optional object expression, and if we don't want to filter, what we can do is give it an empty object, and that should work actually. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to have. That's a bit of a tricky thing to know. Yeah, but that's how it is. And still we are not there because we have entries of objects, and what this guy would need is actually a key that says student and has the array of the options in it. So we have to do some transformation here, and actually I will use the expression, the JavaScript expression here, and build the resulting structure that I want to have. I want to have an object which has the key student, and in the student, or under the student key, there should be an array of all the names. And if I want to do this, then I can say x, and then the small x variable, all the results that are in the previous field are represented. So this is an array of objects here. And if I want to retrieve this, then here's some coding part of the low code. I do a map function, x map, and then get me out in the y variable the y.name, and then I'm closing the object function, and we can try immediately whether this works. And this is how I want to have it look like: student Lara and John, and we can see that this is actually the way this widget wants to have it by just dragging onto it. And then we have to be careful here. It says call autofill by default. It's not what we want. We don't want to autofill the fields, but we want to establish options. And this is how it should look like. And then if you go to test mode, we should be able to see already Lara and John here. Yes, exactly. While here there are no data. Only here we actually place the options. Okay, so let's move on. We want to do actually the same stuff for the other fields. You see here, even I could now, as I'm mapping here out the name, these fields are more or less optional. I could even survive without specifying them. You see, then we would have two bigger objects, but it wouldn't matter for the result here, as I'm mapping out what I need. So, matter of taste. Maybe to say something, of course, all the things have side effects. This will ask for more data with each call if you don't filter. So there's more data going over the network. Well, it in this case it really doesn't matter, but if you wanted to optimize it, you can use this filter stuff and so on. Just to keep it completely simple and nice, I even removed this and I actually decide for this version. Okay, so now if someone enters this page, somehow this function must be triggered, and there's one obvious way to do it. It is on page load. So every time this page is loaded, I want to fetch the latest information that's in the database, and that can be done by just dragging the corresponding page onto the trigger, and it will say on page load. So whenever I go to this page, this function will be executed, and you can immediately check this also. You can always clear the content, which where you can see what's going on, and then if you go to test mode and we go back to page 1 and we go to page 2 again and we load page 2, yes, and you see it triggered this function, it's loaded. So that's what I want to have. And then I want to trigger, of course, all these others. I could just say on page load again, but that's actually not what I'm doing. I'm chaining actually the stuff. I'm saying, okay, once I have the output or the modifier, we could even say the modifier, and then I want to trigger whenever this updated, and I know this function was running, and I trigger courses, and here we do the very same modifier. Actually, here need again an expression. I copy this, you see what will happen, and here in this case not student but courses is what I need. And again I will trigger the next function then finally, and again have a modifier, and here I want to fill in the options for the mentor, which I can do like this. And you see I'm wrong here on the JSON data. I have to check this, copy this out, change it, copy in. That's how it should work. I can always manually click the stuff to see whether it works. Mentor, courses, chemistry and physics. This looks good. And finally I have just to link this to the widget, not autofill but options. And one more time. Autofill but options. There we go. And now if we go into test mode, it should already be loaded. No, it shouldn't. So we trigger this once more. Do we have the students? No students, but courses. And you see this is this tag stuff, so I can select more than one course. Mentors also not there. Why is this? We want to see. Let's go once more back and again. Okay, something we did wrong. I don't see it. Actually, what we did wrong is a bit of a subtle thing. This widget doesn't like to be triggered 3 times on the options, but it wants to see one object containing all the options for the different keys. So this setup wouldn't work for us. We cannot trigger this directly. And in order to create now an object which combines student, courses, and mentor information, we need another functionality. And actually what we need is a merge objects functionality. And this is in utility basic function merge objects. Now what we need, if you want to merge objects, you can actually extend the arguments to the number of inputs you want to be merged. Here we need 3. And actually I'm losing already the wrongly linked direct linkage to the widget. Go away, and go away. You see it's unlinked. And actually I'm putting this into merge objects. Exactly, and once I'm done with this filling in this one, I'm triggering the merge objects function. So I can do like this, just go over there on an update. Update is important. I mean, there's always change and update. I will also put this to update. Change will only trigger if the content really changed. This may not happen here because the selections are the same and then the data is the same. So update is your friend here on triggering the stuff. And it already did this actually, and this is actually how this widget wants to see it. We want to have options with the same keys as the field names are. You can see the field names are student, courses, and mentor. And this is exactly what it needs to see. And then the corresponding options in it, like this. And now this should fix our problem actually. If we drag this over to the widget, we should be in shape. And if we go here and load it, we still see no data. Student, John and Clara, mentor, no data. Who has seen it? I'm so stupid. Autofill is wrong. Options. And one more time. There we go. Finally we have it. And we have all the selections that we want. Yes. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Some attention also to low coding is important. Okay, so that's what we have here, and now actually our users can already select whatever combination, and so this would actually, if we pressed associate the physics course to John and Professor Einstein as a mentor. Well, okay, so and then there is an associate function actually here in the database which we want to use. And where are we? Data connectors. Relational databases, internal Postgres. And we have a set association function. And it works like this. It has a source table, the source ID, target table, target ID. And so we want to have students and whatever is the student ID associated to courses, whatever is the target IDs. In this case, we would need an array of IDs. And then we have a second association. I want to say we associate students to mentors. And here it's important that you name the table names, mentors, and the target IDs. Now, the target IDs are, well, I can already hard code more or less the table associations, students to courses and students to mentors, but I need, of course, to get on the runtime the source IDs and the target IDs, the corresponding IDs to this guys here. And this is actually a problem because we only see the name of the names of the current corresponding entries, but not the IDs. And this often is an issue. I mean, this is a typical pattern that in a widget like this, in a selection widget, you want to have a different label than a value. So in this case here, the label is nice. It's John Lara. The user wants to see the name, but actually the value, the underlying value that is taken into account shouldn't be the name, but the corresponding database ID of John in this case, and Lara in physics and Professor Einstein. And in order to do this, we have to change a bit our layout and explain you how this works. And before we modify this stuff, let's first see what actually how to grab actually the user selected results out of this guy. Because what we yet did is just establishing options on this for this form here. We are not grabbing the actual entered user's input. And if you want, and this is again a general pattern in the app builder, if you want to grab whatever data from a widget and you don't yet know exactly what to do with it, take the memorizer. And here we have this guy, and actually I put it on top of the association, 'cause that's what my logical ordering is. And let's see if we see the input from form data. If we put him above here, we should first see what happens if we select stuff. Okay, we don't have the stuff established. Okay, John, Lara, physics, chemistry, Professor Einstein, Dr. Heisenberg, and so on. And you see the values that are coming in is correct. Student is Lara, course chemistry, mentor Dr. Heisenberg. So we really have the name information here, and this is a no-show for setting associations in the table. So what you would actually love to have here is not saying student Lara, showing student Lara, but saying here as the value Lara's ID actually. So how can we do that? We have to go actually here, and the idea is what you can do is we provide the options for the student form field as an array of John and Lara of simple strings. What the app builder also understands is not putting simple strings here, but arrays, where the first entry is the label and the second is the value. So I demonstrate what I mean. So if I'm mapping out this array into a new array, that's actually what map does. It maps one array into another array, and what the content of the other array is described here. And what I want to do is here not as y.name simply, but I'm establishing an array here, and I say y.id as an array. If I execute this, you can already see what happens. So I'm having still the entries for each student, but I'm mapping already as the value the database ID to John and Lara in this case, and that's what we need actually. We have to do the same for the other guys. Let's see what happens. Looks good. Yes, looks good. And yeah, let's see what happens if we use this scenario. We go to test mode. We reload. We select John and Lara. We deselect physics. Let's select chemistry. And you already see down there what happened to our results. The string names were actually not showing anymore here, but the corresponding IDs in the database. That's what we need. And we're close to being finished. Now we have the data in one object. So as we need source ID and target ID split it here, we need actually to split the results. Nothing easier than that with the modifier. Here we can just use JSONata, and we say I need the student here, and in the parallel modifier I want to see the courses, and in another parallel modifier I want to see the mentor ID. Hop, typed wrongly. Mentor, and then we put it in. So student ID, student ID, and then here we go to courses, and it's fully okay. So if we trigger, can we trigger this? Yes. So courses is actually an array. That's actually exactly what we need in the set association, because there are several courses potentially associated to one student, so we can happily enter here an array of things. And for mentor, it's a different case. Students and mentors have a so each student has exactly one mentor or non-mentor, and that's how it should work. And yes, we are almost there. We need to finally add the association, actually, trigger the association. So we need our button to trigger it, and also this one. There we go. So that should actually work. Yeah, let's test it once more. And I'm going once more page. And let's start with Lara. Let's clear the courses quickly first, and let's give her a physics course. Or maybe even both, chemistry and physics. And then let's associate her to Professor Einstein as a mentor. So let's press associate. Okay, something happened. Let's check what happened. Let's go up into the data input where we had our debug get table. And if we ask for students now, I should see something new on Lara's record. Here is Lara. And you see the mentor ID is not null as before, but it's associated to mentor ID 2. And nicely enough, getTable already does the join, actually, so the relational query to the table that is related, namely the mentor, and it retrieves for us the mentor information. So Professor Einstein is her mentor, and she has actually 2 courses subscribed to, which is physics and chemistry. Is exactly right. Yes. So this is a very simple example. I mean, now we could of course visualize this with data grids and so on, but this is out of the scope of this tutorial. It was already very long, but I wanted to show how it's possible to have actually even complex database structures with all the associations that you can imagine, namely one-to-many and many-to-many, and different table working together. We have here a 2-page application which allows us to manage students, courses, and mentors already, which is already, I think, for 15 minutes application building a good result. Yeah, thanks for listening, and hope to help you again on the next video. Bye bye.